Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Branded by Amelia Sordell. Today, I'm going to be talking about something that I'm so excited about. It is something that I've been working on for over a year, and I actually think this podcast is going to be hugely valuable to anyone who's wanting to build their personal brand and, to be honest, position themselves as someone who is a bit of an authority in their space. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about how I wrote my book, The Personal Branding Playbook, which is coming out on the 5th of December, and why I think you should write a book too. So many people want to write a book. I think I have spoken to dozens, if not multiples of dozens of people who've said to me, oh my God, you're writing a book. I really want to write one. How did you do it? What was the process like? And actually the thing is, almost everyone says they want to write a book, but very few people actually execute on it. And I'm so lucky that I am being published. I'm working with an incredible publisher, Wiley Capstone, to publish the Personal Branding Playbook. And when I was thinking about the kind of run-up campaign and the fact that the book's coming out in, just a few short weeks, I thought it would be really valuable to talk to you about how I wrote it and what were the practical steps I went through to kind of get out the 60,000 words out of my brain and onto paper, and what that process looks like, and also hopefully convince you to do it too. Because building my personal brand is a huge part as to why I have this book deal, and the book deal is also going to build my personal brand exponentially beyond any kind of social media that I could ever have built on. So let's dive in. The first thing I want to talk about is how I got the book deal in the first place. So about a year and a half ago, I was minding my own business on LinkedIn, and I got a DM from Annie at Wiley. Now, Wiley obviously is part of Capstone, and they are now my publisher. And at the time, I didn't really know a huge amount about them, aside from the fact I knew they were a pretty big publishing house. And Annie just slid into my DMs. She said, hey, Amelia, I've been following you for a while, and I just want to say your content is super engaging. We love following you here at Wiley. Would you be interested in writing a book? And of course I was like, yes, absolutely. Now, a bit of context before I kind of dive into what happens next. In 2018, I put on my vision board that I wanted to write a book. In fact, I reckon I can probably find the vision board in my drawer here. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, I grossly apologize for the fact that I'm rummaging around in my desk trying to show this, but I put on my vision board that I wanted to be an author. I'm not going to be able to find it now. This is so very classically me talking and rambling about things that I have no business finding. But I put in my vision board, which lives in this folder here, that I wanted to be an author. And it was something that was really important to me because I really feel, and like so many of you feel, that I had a story in me that was worth sharing, but I just didn't know how I was going to share it. And so I put it on my vision board, and I thought, I don't know how I'm going to make it happen yet, but that's the goal that I would like to achieve before I die. So I'm just going to put author on my vision board. Fast forward to 2023, and Annie slides into my DMs and she says, hey, Amelia, we love what you're doing. We love your content. We love what you say on LinkedIn. Would you like to write a book? There was obviously a lot of things that happened between 2018 and me putting that on my vision board and the actual deal happening. But what I would like to start with is it was my personal brand that allowed that to happen. Now, I didn't intentionally start building my personal brand to get the book deal. It just happened as a result of it. But I knew that I wanted to write a book. And I knew, therefore, whether it was subconscious or not, that my storytelling through my content had to be on point in order to ever be considered for such a thrill, to be honest, such a treat and such an honor that someone would want to publish a book with me. And so step number one for you guys, if you're someone that wants to publish a book, you need to build your personal brand. You need to position yourself as someone who knows what the fuck they're talking about in order to make people want to publish a book with you, whether that is self-published or whether you go down the publisher route like I did. So that looks like being really clear on what the subject matter is expert in and talking about that subject matter over and over and over and over and over again. And it's really funny because I speak to so many people who are building their personal brand. They're saying, but Amelia, I've posted about that last week. I posted about that 2 weeks ago. I spoke about that a month ago. The reality is, if you want to be known for something, you have to talk about that thing consistently. I've been saying the same shit for 4 or 5 or even 6 years in some cases, and I don't ever stop saying it because I want people to know me for personal branding and know me for helping them live their best life humanly possible through being their authentic selves. And I have to hammer that message home over and over and over again in order for that to happen. So if you're someone that wants to write a book, you need to be clear on what your niche is and just hammer those points over and over and over again and be consistent in that. in order to have a chance of winning a book deal. And here's a little practical tip. If you can make sure that at least once or twice a week in your content that you're sharing on whatever platform it is that you share on, that you're sharing practical advice, knowledge, opinions, and experiences, you're much more likely to position yourself as an authority and therefore someone who is likelier to get a book deal. The second reason, I guess, I wanted to publish my book, or at least I got approached to publish my book, is I knew it was going to skyrocket my credibility. When someone says they're a best-selling author or a published author, that carries a next level of weight that like LinkedIn Top Voice or verified profile just can't compete with. It's really easy for people to create content, as much as you might not think it is, but it is. It's very easy for people to look up shit on ChatGPT and just chuck it out there online and then win all the views and kind of work out what all the viral hacks are. But it's very, very difficult to be a subject matter expert. So much so that someone wants to pay you to buy your knowledge, whether that be through a publishing deal or whether that physically be buying your book. It's very, very hard to get that kind of arrangement and that kind of deal. And so when you are a published author or a best-selling author and you can say that to the world, that carries a huge amount of credibility, right? It allows you to position yourself as the go-to person in your expert, someone that others can trust, and someone, more importantly, that other people can recommend. Another reason why I also really wanted to write my book was because I knew that if I had a book, it was going to be an excellent lead generation tool. The entry point to work with my agency or my company from the top level perspective is about 50 to 60,000 pounds a year, right? That's like 70,000 bucks. It's not cheap. Lowest point is Get Clout. That's our amazing membership platform. So for anyone that's building their personal brand, if you're self-employed, come and join us in our platform. We have some incredible resources to help you build your personal brand. But there is a very big kind of gap between £37 a month and £60,000 a month. That means there was a huge amount of people that just weren't being serviced by me and might want more depth of content and more depth of value than they can just get from my social media pages or by listening to this podcast or watching this podcast. And so I knew by publishing a book, I was going to be filling the void between £37 a month and £60,000 a year retainers that was going to help people get to know me on a better level, but also get a huge amount of value from me. And if I can get my value in someone's hand, in someone's pocket, in someone's book, while they're reading it on the commute, I can get in their brain, which means I'm going to be top of mind whenever they get to a point that they are ready to work with me in whatever capacity that might be. So writing my book wasn't just about credibility. It was also about lead generation, because it's part of the lead funnel, right? It's part of a sales funnel. We talk a lot internally at Clout about the commitment curve. And so the beginning of the commitment curve might be an impression on your content, and the bottom of the commitment curve might be people advocating for your business and your product after they've been a customer for a period of time. And so within that spectrum, there are lots of things that happen. You know, there's likes, there's follows, there's signups to newsletters, there's trialing a product for free, there is, you know, back and forth. And, you know, it's not linear. People go back and forth between being a follower and not being a follower, or liking your content, not liking your content, or viewing it and not viewing it, or signing up for your subscription and then not signing up for it, like unsubscribing. People go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But the idea with any business or any content strategy or any marketing strategy should be to drive people down that funnel. And unless you've got steps that people can take that are cheap, small, free, in order to get them to the point where they're ready to buy the big ticket stuff, it's very, very difficult for people to make that leap. And so if you're starting at the impression, like someone just viewing your content, and you're ending with a 50 or 60,000 pound retainer, it's very hard for people to make that leap. But if you can add small steps like follow me, subscribe, sign up to my newsletter, buy my $15.99 book, subscribe to my membership, that then takes people on a very natural sales journey that makes it much more likely that they're going to convert long term. The third reason why I wrote my book is I genuinely believe that everyone has a story worth telling. And in my book, I talk about how important it is that everyone realizes that none of us are unique. We're all the same in our fears, in our skills, in our abilities, and all of these things. That the thing that does make us unique, and therefore why you absolutely have to tell your story, whether it be online or through a book, is the thing that makes you you. There are so many people in your space. There are so many experts in your space. And I have no doubt there are people that are much better at doing what you do, whether you like to hear that or not. There are much better people that do what I do than me. I'm just the most vocal about it. And I'm the best at marketing myself, which makes me the best known. And that brings me back to you. The way that you're going to be the best known in your space and build up that incredible kind of reputation and authority in your space, and therefore make money from it, is by telling your story, because it's the only thing that separates you from every other person. You've got to kind of see it like a skill stack. If everyone in your industry has the same stack of skills, they're the best at what they do, they've got great customer service, they've got great products, they've got great marketing, you've got to look at the things that are going to separate you. And more often than not, it's going to be your community and the way that you interact with your community and the way that you tell them stories and the way you get them to feel seen in your mission, your values, and your founder journey or your career journey, as the case may be, the more likely they are to want to do business with you if you're a business owner, or do business with you if you're an employed person working for someone else.
Do you want to build your personal brand but don't know where to start? Or you want to start posting content and have no idea what to say to attract your ideal audience? Sign up to Get Clout. It's a generative AI platform that delivers you a personal branding social content strategy and tells you exactly what to post, where to post it to get the outcomes that you want to get from your social media. Go to www.clout.com/membership to join 565 people today who are also building their personal brand.
Okay. So now you understand why I wanted to write my book. Let me give you some practical tips on how you can write one too. So first and foremost, you need to get your publisher's attention. So as I said at the beginning, you have to build your personal brand. Be very, very specific on the niche topic that you want to talk about and hammer that point over and over and over and over and over again. The next thing that you need to do is you need to build out a book pitch. Now, this sounds a lot scarier than it actually is, but building out a book pitch is essentially a document that basically states what the book is about, what the reader's going to get from it, what key takeaways they're going to have, and why someone would be interested in reading it from you. Like, what credibility have you got? And if you would like to know what my book pitch looked like, say me please in the comments and I will send it to you. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, shoot me a DM and say, I want the book pitch, and I will send it to you. But this is basically a framework that you can use to pitch yourself to publishers and get them to sign a book deal with you before you've even written the book. Now, most publishers will ask you to write a few chapters before they actually sign a deal with you, unless they approach you directly like I was. But it's a really good place to start, to have that pitch, have that kind of framework of what it is that you want your book to be, whether you're going the self-published or published route, because that is going to be the absolute North Star of what your writing, your chapters, your conclusion, and your opener is going to be. So make sure you get that book pitch right. The next kind of point that I would say is it's a lot less scary than it seems. I think a lot of people think that writing a book is overwhelming and, you've got to write all of these words and where are you going to find the time and all of that kind of stuff. The thing that I would say is writing a book isn't about perfection, much like my content. It's about progress. It's about doing it bit by bit and maybe starting in the middle and ending with the beginning, right? You don't just write a book in a linear format from introduction all the way through to conclusion. You flip-flop across multiple different places to get to the place that you need to go. And oftentimes it's easier to start at the end because that's the point of the book, right? If you can kind of think about it as a structure of what is my North Star with this book? What is the key takeaway I want people to have when they end and when they read? What is the most inspiring thing that I can leave them with, and work your way backwards? That makes it a hell of a lot easier for you to be able to articulate your words in chapter format and also make it an engaging and thought-provoking read. Another thing that I would say is I've read so many books across the years that just sound so robotic, so formal, so ridiculous that they just bore me by chapter 2, and so I never end up finishing them. One of the things that was so important to me in writing this book was it was in my tone of voice, and it used short sentences and started things with and left them with because that's how I talk, right? And if you're someone that has ever come across my content on LinkedIn, or whether you're watching this video on YouTube or listening to it on Spotify, you'll know that I talk in short, punchy sentences. I'm direct, I'm honest, I'm authentic, or at least I try to be. And that is how I wanted it to come across in my book. Don't write your book in a formal way just because that's what your publisher says or that's what the internet says. You need to write your book in a way that feels true to your tone of voice and authentic to you. If you curse. If you start sentences with and, start them with and. If you are grammatically incorrect and you use your hands a lot, use grammar to articulate that in your storytelling, because that's going to make your book memorable. If I think back to all the books that I've loved, like, by Phil Knight, Shoe Dog, or This Isn't Going to End Well, all of these books are written by a human being who clearly has a lot of passion for what they're talking about, and that is articulated in the words and the grammar that they use. So don't try and be perfect. Try and aim for authentic, because that's what's going to make your book sell, but it's also what's going to make people recommend your book, which is ultimately what the whole point of all of this is. We're trying to get you to be the most recommended person in your space, and it's very difficult for you to do that if you're not being a human being in your storytelling. And a bit of a practical tip to kind of get over the hurdle of getting to 60,000 words, which is a lot, by the way, is if you just to commit to write like 200 words a day, which is like literally a paragraph, just chipping away at it over a period of time will get you closer and closer to that end goal of 60,000 words, which is what my book was. And then I ended up rewriting the whole thing at the end. I went back through like all the grammar, all the tips, everything, just to finesse it and make sure it was perfect. But if you can just commit to showing up every single day, even if it's just to add a little bit to what you've already done, it's going to make writing the book so much easier. Another tip that I would give you on the topic of writing your book and on the topic of like how you can get a book to sell and make it feel authentic and really add value to your consumer or really add value to your reader is so many people write a book in either a educational format or in a storytelling format. And what I did was I combined the two. I wanted people to know more about my journey because I think my journey is what inspires people to build their own journey through personal branding. But I also wanted to give some really clear, practical advice on how people could build their personal brand. It is called the Personal Branding Playbook after all. And so if you can find a style where you're giving people practical advice and really valuable insights, along with giving them the credibility as to why they should trust you by kind of including elements of your story in it, that's going to make your book so much more powerful than anyone else's in your space. Another thing that I would say about writing this book is that it's opened so many doors that I didn't even know existed, and it hasn't even come out yet. I've started to do deals with brands. I've started to get approached for like very big speaking gigs because people know that this book's coming out. I have TV opportunities on my lap that I never even knew were possible, all because I've started to write this book and I started to talk about that I wrote this book. And so people look at publishing a book as the end goal, but actually publishing the book is the beginning of what your goal should be. It's going to open so many more opportunities for you to really start to leverage your personality and your knowledge and your experience and start positioning yourself as someone who is really influential in rooms that you just otherwise don't have access to. Another thing that I would say about writing this book is it gives you a cornerstone to be able to create so much more content. So I have a weekly newsletter that goes out every single Friday. So you can sign up to that on my website if you're interested in hearing more about it. But I basically give people tips every single Friday on how to grow their personal brand, how to win on video, like how I got my first speaking gig, how to negotiate contracts, everything that you need to know to live your best life, have the best, biggest, most influential personal brand, and also to really build a life that you love through self-employment. That is what my newsletter is all about, which really ties nicely into the personal branding playbook, right? And so what my team have done is we've gone through my manuscript for my book and we've picked out like tiny little bits of the book and we've turned those into newsletters. Writing a book isn't just create once and sell whatever you sell. It can become the basis and the Bible of all of your other content. So if there's elements in there that you think would be useful on video, you can then record them as video, or you can copy and paste them, add some context and use them as text posts on platform like LinkedIn. It becomes an incredibly powerful thing if you can take 60,000 words and turn it into 60,000 posts, right? It saves time and makes sure that your brand is super consistent and means that you're constantly churning out advice that is in line with who you're trying to attract. And the last thing I'm going to say to you before I'm going to give you some things that I wish I knew sooner before I went into publishing my book is whether or not you should self-publish or you should go through traditional publishing. Now, when you first start out, obviously self-publishing might be the way to go, right? It's quicker, it's easier, it's also cheaper for you because you only have to pay per book that's sold, but it doesn't carry the same kind of prestige and distribution as a publisher does. And so that is why I chose to go with Wiley, because I'm now stocked in WH Smith, we're on Amazon, we're going to be in potentially Barnes and Noble and international stockists. And that is going to get my name into rooms that I otherwise just wouldn't have access to, right? So it's really, really important that when you're researching both routes, you decide what is the most important thing for you. Is it reach and distribution because this is a brand awareness and a prestige kind of credibility thing? Or do you actually want to make money from your book? Because if you actually want to make money from your book, it's much more likely that you want to go down the self-published route, because it's actually very difficult to make money through a publisher because they're trying to recoup all of their costs that they've paid you in their advance through the sale of your book. Now, here are some things that I wish I knew sooner. Number one, oh my God, the writing of the book is actually the easy part, right? It's the approvals, the grammar, the spell check, the fact check, the everything else that takes so long. So if you are going to do this process, make sure you're allocating time to, at the end of the book, once it's been submitted, to do all of the editing and the approving, because that took weeks and weeks and weeks that I should have actually allocated months to, and was incredibly stressful at the end. The next thing I would say is have a really clear like marketing plan of how you're going to get your book out there. So I've kind of wung it with my personal branding playbook because I didn't really have a kind of anything else to go off. I've never published a book before. I didn't have a huge amount of support on like what I should be doing to promote my book. And so I've just been learning as I go. The one thing I would say is I am such a big advocate for personal branding, where I think self-promotion is a great thing. It's got me to where I am today, and of course got me this book deal. But when it came to actually promoting my book, it felt really icky for me to be like, hey guys, buy my book. And so it really like lost me a lot of like buys and pre-sales. If you're going to publish a book, you have to be okay with promoting it. You have to be okay with getting it in front of everyone, put it in every single room, take pictures of it everywhere, meet famous people and get them to hold the book and take a picture of it. Like do whatever you need to do to get those sales, because the more people you can get that book in the hands of, the more likely you are for it to be known. And the more that's known, the more you're going to be known. And as I kind of established with you already, writing a book is all about, for me, the credibility and winning you business and prestige in the rooms that you need to win those things in. The next thing that I wish I'd known sooner as well is like how to do a book launch that doesn't actually feel like a boring kind of drinks party. And so what I did is I teamed up with NatWest. Shout out NatWest, you are absolutely amazing. And we are running a masterclass for their accelerator customers, because their accelerator customers are exactly aligned to my customers and who the book is written for. And so I messaged NatWest and I said, hey guys, I've got this book launch coming out. I think there's a really great opportunity for us to launch the book and run a masterclass with your accelerator customers. Would you guys be interested in hosting the book launch? And amazingly, they said yes. And now we've got this incredible event that's being hosted exclusively at their Bishopsgate Conference Centre, which is the most amazing venue. And NatWest are hosting everything. But it means that not only is my book getting promoted and I'm launching it with my family and friends and everyone that I love, I'm also able to get it into the hands of the very people that I'm trying to get it into, right? And that's really going to encourage people to want to tell their friends, oh my God, if you heard about this book, you should buy it. It's amazing. And that's going to help me with my sales. So make sure when you're thinking about your book launch, whether you've gone down the traditional or kind of self-publishing route, that you're really thinking about how can I get this book in the hands of as many people as humanly possible, not just celebrating the fact that you've written the book. And the last thing I'm going to say is, and I haven't done this yet, but I wish I had known this sooner, is what is your legacy plan to get those sales continually going? So we haven't actually recorded an audio book yet. It's going to be part of our 2025 plan because we want to spike sales again in 2025. So we're going to roll out the audio book like further down the road. We're then going to start doing different types of distribution across 2025, like a road show. We're going to go into different places all over the UK and run little pop-up masterclasses so people can come to those masterclasses, learn about personal branding and get the book at the same time. So it's all about how can you incorporate the promotion of the book with adding value to your audience in a different way that doesn't just require them to pay $15.99 to buy your life story. Writing a book isn't just about making people buy your book. It's about adding value to a community so that they think it's so cheap and valuable that they want to tell all of their friends about it. And that is how you get a book sold, because really and truly, most people don't buy books based on the recommendations of bestseller lists or, you know, whether it was advertised to them or not. They base their book buying on whether or not someone they know has read it and really got a lot of value from it. So the more you can get your book into the hands of people that are going to advocate for you, the more books you're going to sell long term. Honestly, writing a book has been the most incredible journey. It's been a lot harder than I thought it was ever going to be, but also so much more rewarding. And it wouldn't have been possible. It wasn't for Annie and Alice at Wiley. Like, they are just incredible. And for anyone that's going down the publishing route, I highly recommend working with Wiley. They're the most amazing team. And of course, it would not be possible without my amazing team supporting me in all the other areas of my business while I was kind of undertaking this project. It's taken well over a year to get from kind of deal signed to actually publishing the date, which is the 5th of December. But I'm so proud of what we've done. And I really do believe that writing a book is one of the most impactful ways for you to elevate your personal brand and to tell your story and to define what you want people to think about you in a way that is so much more credible than just posting content online. So if you want to see yourself as a leader in a field, if you want people to respect you, if you want to go from invisible to influential, you need to write a book. So what's your story? What is it that you want people to know about you, and what story do you want to be left? What is your legacy? Because if you don't write your story now, someone else will. And instead of letting someone else write your story, wouldn't you rather take the opportunity to leverage it and make a better life and career for yourself? I certainly would. I hope this was helpful. It was a short one today. I am so proud of the Personal Branding Playbook coming out on the 5th of December. If you haven't bought your copy yet, please do. One thing that I should have said, and the things that I wish I knew sooner, is pre-sales count towards bestseller lists. So the more pre-sales you can get before the book comes out, the more likelihood you have getting on Sunday Times or Amazon bestseller list, which obviously adds a huge amount of credibility. So if you haven't bought your book, please, I would mean the world to me if you would buy the Personal Branding Playbook, which is available on Amazon US and Amazon UK, because it will help me get on that list. I'm really gunning for this Sunday Times bestseller list. I don't think I'm going to get it. Maybe, no, I do. We're going to manifest it. It's going to happen. But if you could buy it, I would be eternally grateful. And if you haven't already, come and join us at Get Clout, the membership. It's where we're teaching everyone how to build their personal brand, including how to write books and how to leverage your personality to gain a competitive business advantage. Until next time, I can't wait to see you and have the most amazing week. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you at the book launch on the 5th of December.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I absolutely love doing these podcasts, and I would be able to reach a hell of a lot more people if you like and subscribe. So thank you to all of you who have already liked and subscribed. And if you haven't, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review so we can reach more people.